Good morning, this is Bob Mason from FX Empire and welcome to the Daily Crypto Tech Review. We're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin and Ripple's XRP. We'll be looking at the MACDs, the moving averages and the day support, resistance and pivot levels. It is Thursday the 12th of November. Jumping straight into Bitcoin against the US dollar, we're looking at the hourly candlestick. It's a bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Bitcoin move back through the pivot at 15,661 to bring the first major resistance level at 16,030 into play. Support from the broader markets going to be needed for Bitcoin to break out from yesterday's high that was at 15,981. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and yesterday's high to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, could see Bitcoin target resistance at 16,500 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 16,350. Failure to move through the pivot will bring the first major support level sitting at 15,341 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Bitcoin should stay clear of sub 15,000 levels. Second major support level sits at 14,972. Looking at the MACD, we had a late bearish cross yesterday and a widening of the bearish histogram at the start of the morning, supporting this early pullback following yesterday's late pullback. So MACD is pointing to a bearish morning ahead. The 50 EMA has narrowed on the 100 and the 200, also pointing to a bearish morning ahead. So key through the early part of the day would be to move back through the pivot level to then target yesterday's high. Failure to do that and you got support levels in play. Moving across to Ethereum against the US dollar, particularly bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Ethereum move back through the pivot at 463.51 to bring the first major resistance level at 477.08 into play. You'll need to see support from the broader market for Ethereum to break out from yesterday's high 476.8, however. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 480 to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, could see Ethereum target resistance at 490 before any pullback. Second major resistance level is at 490.36. Failure to move through the pivot will bring the first major support level at 450.23 into play. Barring an extended sell-off through the day, Ethereum should avoid sub 450s. Second major support level sits at 436.66. Looking at the MACDs, following yesterday's late bearish cross, we've got a widening of the bearish histogram this morning, supportive of this early morning pullback. On the EMAs, we're seeing the 50 narrow marginally on the 100 and the 200, also supportive of this bearish start to the day. So failure to move back through the pivot at 463.51 would bring that first major support level into play. An extended sell-off and you're looking at sub 440s. Moving across to Litecoin and the US dollar, particularly bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Litecoin move back through the pivot at 59.28 to bring the first major resistance level at 60.69 and yesterday's high 60.63 into play. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Litecoin to break back through to 60 levels, however. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and yesterday's high to cap any upside. Failure to move back through the pivot would bring the first major support level at 57.93 back into play. Litecoin has already tested that this morning. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Litecoin should steer clear of the 23.6% fib at 54. Second major support level sits at 56.52, should limit the downside. Looking at the MACDs, we got a widening of the bearish histogram after yesterday's late bearish cross, supportive of this early sell-off. And we've got a bearish cross there on the 50 and the 100 EMA and a narrowing on the 200, also indicative of this early sell-off. So failure to move back through the pivot at 59.28 will bring that first major support level at 57.93 back into play. Litecoin's already tested that once. And an extended sell-off and you got that second major support level sitting at 56.52 that will come into play. Moving across to Ripple's XRP against the US dollar, tracking the broader market, bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Ripple's XRP move through the pivot at 0.2563. Take a run at the first major resistance level and yesterday's high. First major resistance level sits at 0.2598 and yesterday's high is at 0.26. So barring an extended rebound on the day, Expect that first major resistance level and yesterday's high to cap any upside. Failure to move through the pivot would bring the first major support level saying at 0.2526 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ripple's XRP should avoid sub 0.2450 levels. Second major support level sits at 0.2490 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACDs, we got a widening of the bearish histograms after yesterday's bearish cross, supportive of this early pullback. On the EMAs, we're seeing the 50 narrow on the 100 and 200, also indicative of that bearish start to the day. So keep through the early morning, move through the pivot at 0.2563 to then target 0.2590 levels and resistance levels. Failure to do that and you got support levels in play.